welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. This is college basketball, Saturday, December 30th. We have, I believe, 80 games. This is a little test run for us because we're going to have about twice this many, I believe, for every Saturday going forward for quite some time. So it's going to be good times. My cousin Jared, we shared this with the people over on Discord already. I'm not sure if I explained it well to people hard on Disc Club if you're with us on Dub Club and you don't have a Discord account there, but we've been talking a lot, thinking a lot about this since last year of like, how do we, we want to provide a product for any sports bettor, right? And the more the merrier, right? And we know there's a lot of different types out there. And there's a lot of you who, we try to minimize the A grade plays, but there's a lot of you who would still see 40 A grade plays on a Saturday and be like, that's too many. And I get that because I kind of feel that too, because it can be a lot, right? And so, trying to figure out how to handle that, and I think we got a good little system here. We've got our 9 favorite plays for Saturday. We're going to talk about 8 of them here. The 9th is the play of the day, but these are our best bets. And as of today, folks, you can get all of the best bets over on Black Book if you want. So if you don't want to hear the extra analysis, but you want the extra 5 picks, these are all 5 A grades or 5 other favorite A grades below that line, along with the play of the day. You can get those over on Black Book just to pick. It's a little bit of a, you don't get quite as many benefits as Dub Club, but it's another alternative for people. It's a little cheaper if you're interested in that. But otherwise, cousin Jared, I'm excited to have this system personally because starting next Saturday, it's going to be a lot. And it's like, how do we trying to have a package where, like, if you want to play 10 games, here's your 10. If you want to play 30, here's your 30. If you want to play 60, here's your 60, right? However many you want to play, try to help everybody out there.
And I feel like this message is partially tailored to me because it is difficult when you're like waking up on a Saturday morning and it's like, I literally have to get up early to be able to do all of the work and analysis and everything that I need to do to get ready for these 100 bazillion games approximately. So yes, I as well am looking forward to maybe some streamlined plays, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. It is. Sometimes it does feel like work on a Saturday. And again, if you want to do that work, one of the things we've read over in Dub Club is the cheat sheets, information, metrics, pace rankings, all sorts of goodies over there, spreadsheets to kind of help people out and whatnot, team totals, So if you want to do all that research, we've got you covered there with what the model insights are. But if you want a little bit more, hey, here's kind of what we got. You can get that as well. And again, this is your last chance because this will be our last show of the year. We talked about doing another bowl show. Life's a little bit crazy for everybody. I've still got the little one in the NICU and everything's still fine. He's just, he's still up there trying to get bigger and more awake and whatnot. What happens when you have a baby born at 36 weeks? They're sometimes just not quite ready for the world. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I'm still not ready for the world. So, I feel you little dude. Yeah. But our lives are crazy. You and Jake's lives are crazy, with the holidays and whatnot. You have a little one with a birthday, slightly bigger than my oldest, but a kid with a birthday this time of year and just a lot of things happening. So we're going to just pass on that. We did a lot of college football shows already this year. So hopefully you enjoyed that content. We do have picks on all those. Turning our luck around a little bit with college football, going 2-1 here on Friday was nice. Seeing things getting kind of back to normal like they were all season for us. We'll have more plays for the Saturday bowl games and the New Year's Day bowl games available to everybody on Dub Club. And again, this is your last chance to get in with 2023 pricing and $10 for first month. It's a 2-for-1 that you should not be passing up, people, if you're not with us there already. Again, the link in the show description, sign up, QR code if you're with us on YouTube. You can type in the promo code. If you just click the link, it'll already be there. We will also not be doing a show on Sunday night. That is New Year's Eve.
Yeah. I hope we're all doing something more fun on Sunday night.
Well, I won't. I will still be doing some form of this probably, or with a little one up at the hospital. But we'll be back on Monday night for college basketball, and then we'll kind of get back into our normal rhythm at that point as all these athletes are getting back into their rhythm. Because is there anything else to mention before we get into our last show of 2023, which I can't believe.
I can't believe that either. Some person with more time than we do needs to tell us how many shows we did this year because it feels like it was a lot. So
It's probably like 300.
yeah, it was probably more than I think it is. So let's just jump right into it then.
Let's get right into it then. Creighton and Marquette. This is the best game of the day. I'm not even sure it's close. There are a couple other interesting games, but this is by far the one that, if you're going to watch one college basketball game amidst the college football games, and of course there's an NFL game at night, this is the one you want to watch, of course. Two really good teams. I'm not even sure what there's to say about them. It should be a great game. If you like college basketball, you'll be watching this one. Creighton is an interesting case because the model has liked them and the model has backed them and backed their over a lot. And it's been to very mixed results. It's worked out sometimes. It hasn't at times. And the Creighton offensive rank at one point was number 1 in the country, according to the model. It's dropped to number 3. It's really a slow moving model. It's built to be that way kind of on purpose because we don't want to overreact. In general, not overreacting is the right call. And I don't think there's cause to overreact with Creighton, even though they have had some weaker offensive performances. And the reason I say that is BYU came into the season and wasn't highly thought of, and they've done so well. The model has bumped them up to number 5 in the country overall. So the model will react if it needs to. Yep. It's not really reacted on Creighton, so it's not really concerned, even though if you've watched Creighton, you have to be a little concerned about them at this point. And they aren't playing with pace. The reason they score is their efficiency. Marquette, though, will try to speed you up. Shaka Smart, trademark, not reckless pace, but will press when needed. Will go a little bit faster. You can see that they're on screen with the rating. He's not quite as crazy as his previous days, like at VCU, right, where he needed to be a little bit more extreme because of the lack of talent that you have there, relatively speaking. But still will try to get you going a little bit. I kind of think Creighton, that's exactly what they need to get them going, is playing a team like Marquette that'll get them up and down. That's why our favorite pick on this game is the over 148.5. It's an A-grade pick. Model says 154.7. And I tend to agree that I think the speed's going to win out here. I think Creighton will enjoy playing a little bit of a faster game. And again, I think that's what they need to get going personally. Cousin, what's your take?
When I look at Creighton, generally when they've had a game, a couple of things. Number one, some of the games that haven't gone over, like Villanova. Like Villanova is a team with a very strong defensive identity. Like I'm not going to hold somebody, we have an A grade on the over in Creighton Villanova and it goes under. I'm not going to hold that against Creighton. Like Villanova is a solid team that has a very specific way that they like to play. The other games, like generally if the game didn't go over, it was an issue not on Creighton's side. Like Creighton was usually doing its part for a game to go over. It was the other team that maybe we could have asked a little bit more from offensively. The one game that I look at and I have no idea how this game happened was the Colorado State game on Thanksgiving when Creighton lost 69-48. That is one of the most shocking totals of the season in my mind. Those two teams, I would have thought that game would have gotten into maybe the 160s. But other than that, like I look at that and I don't really see anything that worries me too much about Creighton. Marquette has a few games this season where I have said, is this offense really as good as I think it is? Most of those games, almost all those games, have either come on the road or they have come against really good teams like Kansas or UCLA, for example. But even that UCLA
who has no offensive identity, but is still decent on defense.
And Marquette still got that game to 140. Or they played St. Thomas, our favorite team in the country. St. Thomas. double winner. The night that we're recording this, as you're watching it potentially yesterday. Double winner on
double winner on the total and the plus odds on St. Thomas.
Yeah, so Marquette got St. Thomas to 163. These are just two really good offenses. Like this is one of those things. Don't overthink it. We've talked plenty about the rule changes, how they're trying to encourage points this year. These are two teams that are really going to benefit from that, I think. So this is one of those things. Don't think about it. Two super good offenses. That's really all there is to say about it.
Yeah, and it's not taking anything away from the defenses, but kind of just that short and sweet what we've been saying is that the offenses in college basketball, the good offenses are just better than the good defenses because of various things. And so it's kind of what we expect here. The other thing I'll point out is that Creighton has lost 3 times this year, and all 3 games, the total has gone under, even with the Villanova game going to overtime. And so when they have lost, they have struggled to score. I'm not sure that's correlated here. It might be. I also think that was just kind of a, the totals in Creighton games are set pretty high because their offense is good. And I guess what I'm trying to say is when they've lost, it's been their offense letting them down. You talked about the other games that have gone under have been the other team. It's been their defense has been too good. I'm not sure that's going to happen against this Marquette team. Like Creighton's defense is solid, absolutely, but Marquette's a really good team, right? So they should score plenty of points. If this game goes under, it'll probably be the same sort of situation where Creighton just can't score, but you don't necessarily think that will happen. And if it's a low scoring game, Creighton can obviously win. So again, we talk about anything can happen in one game. Our confidence does not lie in one game. It lies in the process. You're seeing that here on a Friday night that I think we're eyeing about like a plus 14 unit overall Friday night with just playing the A grades and the side picks and the extra extended cut picks and things like that. And so it's the overall process. We don't win every single pick, right? So any one thing can happen. There's a lot of ways the game can play out, but just in general, there's more ways this goes over, and there's more ways this goes over comfortably, which makes it fun. It's also a tight contest, could get to overtime, could have like fouls. There's just a lot of ways this can get into the 150s. The model thinks any of the numbers in the 150 are all fairly reasonably likely outcomes, and that it's just as likely to land 160 as it is 148. And so over 148 and a half, a great pick in the game of the day in Creighton and Marquette. Which takes us to Portland State and Idaho. We had Portland State on here a couple nights ago, had the under. The number that we played on the show pushed. I personally got it at half a point higher, and it won. If you played it at any point, it won. That was one where we constantly talk about the line movements in college betting mean basically nothing. If I've been preaching this for years now as a data scientist, as a PhD statistician. I am trained to look into this, and I can tell you folks that the line moves don't mean anything. What it tells you is what everyone else thinks. The line movement does not tell you if you have a good pick. It doesn't tell you what'll happen. How you view the line movement is, did I get the best of the number? And people conflate those things, and those are two separate things. So in that game, if you were playing the under, you wanted to wait and get a higher number. If you had a magic 8-ball and knew which way the number was going to go, right? And if you wanted the over, you wanted to get it at a lower number, obviously. But that game got steamed over, and you lost or pushed if you played over, and most everybody lost playing that over. You preached Portland State why you like their under. So we kind of just got to go back to the well here and go under again. Model says 134.2. We're going to play under 138.5. It's a B grade pick. There is a shop out there, a popular one that I place this at personally at 139.5, which actually be an A grade play. And so obviously shop around, get the best of the number, just because you never know when it will matter. Because the thing I want to talk about in this game is you already preached a couple nights ago, and I'm assuming everyone here probably watched the show. If not, you can go back and listen. Maybe you'll give us the highlights here about why you like the Portland State's unders. I'm assuming it has to do with their terrible offense. But Idaho plays really slow, right? They're not like one of the slowest teams in the country, but they play really slow, and they're really bad on offense. I swear Idaho is one of those teams that every time I look up, they're like, 5 minutes to go and the game totals at like 95 points. And I'm like, man, like this feels like the perfect mixture for an under, only a B grade. And there are 19 A grades, but this is one of the stronger picks in the night, in our opinion. B plus grade at this number. And again, the A grade number is available, at least as of the time of this recording. Because Jared, tell us more.
Yeah. So the Cliff Notes on Portland State was, the past few years, they have played exceptionally fast, and that was the driver for many of their games going over. Their pace has slowed down a bit, and I think it's
around average.
Yeah, it's around average. And even if you watch them, like at times, that can feel deceptive because they do a lot of full court press and stuff. But so the pace is, I think, a little bit slower than what it would seem like if you were just watching a game with your eyes. The other thing is the full court press makes things happen more quickly. But when your offense is terrible, a lot of nothing can happen quickly.
It's like we talked a lot about UCLA football, right? They played fast. They went nowhere very fast, but they still went nowhere. That's what we talked about with it. It's the same sort of thing. You can play fast, but they aren't doing too much with it.
Yeah. And so Portland State is a team that, like, if they're playing I'm just picking teams geographically nearby, like Washington. or, something like that, a team that likes to play quick, Gonzaga. That's when Portland State games are going to go over, obviously, because of who they're playing, but also when you're going against a good offense and make things happen quickly, that's when they're going to get into a high-scoring game. It's not going to be when they're playing Idaho. When Idaho wants to slow things down themselves, and again, even if things do happen quickly, okay, don't expect much from Idaho at all. So that was the Cliff Notes version on Portland State. Idaho is not the team to take advantage of that sometimes quick pace and just full court press, making things happen fast. Idaho's not going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, Idaho's going to stay just very slow. They're like, we don't really care about that, and so we think that makes us a good underpick. Because Jared, during the extended cut last night, if you're with us on the Dub Club and you watched that version of the show, you saw me in real time. It wasn't like in real time. It was like while you were talking, so people didn't have to watch me code. But I quickly came up with a back of the envelope metric of offensive incompetency, where I took the ranking of their pace and the ranking of their offense and added it together and said, hey, lower numbers, since it's ranks, would be better and higher numbers are worse. And we talked about how you nailed when you just kind of threw out that Mississippi Valley State was one of the lowest scoring teams because they play slow and don't score. And in this metric, I had them number 3 with regards to the third most offensively incompetent team or lowest scoring team.
Yep.
Idaho, according to this metric, that again, I just made up in like 3 minutes, number 27 in the country out of 362, which just goes to show what I was saying. Like Idaho feels like they're in a low scoring game every time you turn around because they're not good, but their defense is like just as inept. And we always talk about that when you get down to the bottom of teams here, that the ineptitude on defense tends to, at least you can play hard and at least keep it lower scoring and grind it out. And that's why you see some of those lower scoring games with like the NEC conference and all those weaker conferences, because they can at least play hard on defense, but you can't manufacture the skill on offense. And that's what Idaho has. They play slow and they can't manufacture any skill, but they can sure play a 59-56 game. That's kind of what we think this will be. So under 138.5 B grade, again, A grade numbers out there. Pretty strong pick for us, we think, here in the late afternoon, which takes us to the last of the free picks, again, of our 9 most favorite picks. And we'll probably add a couple more in the morning. So we'll probably end up with maybe 11 or 12 here total of our favorite, our best bets, we should call them. One of them here, Austin Peay and Memphis. We've played the Memphis totals several times on the show. Again, it's had some mixed results. It's gone well. I think more than not. I think we're kind of like maybe 2-1. We'll say on the totals. I don't know if that's exactly right, but that's what it feels like at least. Clash of styles here. Austin Peay wants to play very slow. Memphis wants to play very fast. But you'll see it's interesting. They are just about, I think exactly. I think Austin Peay is the 18th slowest team, and Memphis is the 18th fastest team according to the sideline. So they are mirror images of each other, which should kind of balance us out and put us in a more average number of points game. The average number of points in a college basketball game this year is 144, 145. Model leans slightly higher than that, thinking that Memphis is more likely to control the pace and speed it up a little bit more than just an average pace, simply because of the fact that they are, as we talk about with pace, the faster team tends to win out on that. Why is that? Because if you're playing faster and you are struggling to get back on defense, if that's part of the reason the pace is happening, the other team isn't going to pass up a good look. So the faster pace on average tends to win out. The better team's pace tends to win out. They can control it. That's definitely Memphis. And the home team tends to win out as well. So those are all 3 reasons why we think the pace leans more towards Memphis. That's why the model's saying 147.2. So I'm just explaining the nuts and bolts of that, why we like the over 141 A grade pick for us. A lot of value in this number. Because Jared, tell us the rest of the story.
I feel like I'm just a broken record at this point. I don't know how many examples, and a majority of the examples all come from very similar teams because, there's only so many teams that are at one end of the spectrum on pace and versus the other. But I think about like the UMBC Towson game. I think about the game that was earlier today, UMBC and American. Where American has a really slow
pace.
It
got to like 175 or something.
Yeah.
Or even the St. Thomas Marquette game, which we already talked about earlier in the show, right? We have a really hard under team in St. Thomas. Like one of the only times they went over was against a faster team in Marquette.
Right. And so I just don't know how many times we have seen this season where you get 2 teams that are on the extremes of pace. And it seems like 75% of the time, 80% of the time, some ridiculously high number, the game's going to go faster. Like it's just almost like a law. And I know that you and I have seen on X, formerly known as Twitter, people disagreeing with that, that it is much easier to slow a game down. And like, I get that in theory, but it's just not the reality of what we have seen this year. And so just, again, my big thing with college basketball is that I watch the model more so than I watch the games. And I can just tell you, 75 to 80% of the time, it's going to be the faster paced team that sets the pace.
It works every time. Oh, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a good way to phrase it. So, this is just like, I don't know, greatest hits I'm playing here. Memphis is going to control the pace of this game. Just because number one, that seems to be what happens. Number two, they have a talent advantage. It's just, and Memphis controls the pace. Great chance for this game to go over.
Yeah, Memphis is 8-4 to the over this year, and the games that have gone under for them, the Missouri game at the start of the season, and I think we had that one over, and it went under by a lot, was just a bizarre outlier of a game that just was not anything like what we expected. And of course, Missouri this season, their pace and their offensive and defensive ratings have just completely fluctuated from what we thought at the start of the season, where they're just becoming a much slower and much better on defense team than we ever thought at the start. The Michigan game, which was a neutral site game, went under. And then the other two were two teams that are two of the only teams that can control the pace. That's Villanova and Virginia. We talked about Villanova doing that already this year, and Virginia. And both of those teams just seem intent on, we are going to slow this down. Virginia's pace is breaking the model basically, and Villanova isn't quite their own pace because they do have a little bit of, they will take advantage on occasion, and so it's not quite coming through there. But both of those teams this year seem just so intent on, we don't care if you're giving us a good look. We are going to control this pace and make you uncomfortable. And there aren't many teams in college basketball doing that anymore. So it's like, I think the whole narrative of it's easier to slow a team down than speed them up, I think used to be more true. But I think now, again, with the offensive players being better than the defensive players because of, again, extra eligibility and NIL, I think that's just it's not as easy as it was. And I think you only have a few teams who are just stuck to that identity. And a couple of the teams that were doing it even last year, like UNT and Charlotte, have kind of given up on that. And they're playing slow, but they're not playing quite the same way. I don't know if it's because they just don't have the talent to do it, or it's not as fun, or what it is, but there's just a small handful of teams where it's like, yeah, they will slow you down. But even Towson is a team that you would have thought would fall in that category. And they played UMBC in a game that got to like 160 or something ridiculous like that. So again, when you talk about, right, there's no locks in betting, because if this goes over, or excuse me, under, it might be because of the pace, but it might also just be because teams get cold, and if Memphis defense locks us down and Austin Peay only scores 40 points, right? I don't think Memphis is going to score 100 and 102. But we had a situation where we took the LSU under, one of our few losses on Friday, and we said, hey, as long as LSU doesn't get to 100, we're probably good. Well, LSU could have scored 91 and we still got under. They scored 95, right? So this is the same sort of thing. Like, Memphis might score like 95 points here in this game. I don't think they will, but I didn't think LSU would score 95 either. So the point being, anything can happen in one game, but there's value in these numbers. You talked about in the last game, because Jared, I think there's value in the Portland State unders because people are still thinking about them as last year's team, and the numbers are slow to adjust. Eventually they probably will, and then we won't be playing them anymore. There's value in some of these mixed pace games. Not that it works every time, but as you pointed out, it works like 3 out of 4 times where the pace just tends to go faster, gets us extra possessions, and as long as wonky things don't happen, we get those wins. And sometimes they do and we lose. That's why it doesn't win every time, but hey, it wins enough that it makes it a pretty profitable venture. So pretty strong over. It is
within the realm of possibility that Memphis shoots 18% from 3 and this game goes over. And that's the reason the game goes over, not because of the pace. So anyway,
all right, that will wrap us up here. There is your recap. Again, 5 more games to talk about in the City Cup. We're going to have a long, fun night here for our viewers on Dub Club. These are part of our 9 and counting best bets, and including the play in, you need the best bets over at blackbook.com. That link is in the show description. And if you want the video version, the extended cut, access to our Discord chat, ad-free shows, all sorts of goodies over there, check it out on Dub Club. Sign up, Get $10 off your first month. Lock in the pricing of the future. See if you like it. If you don't, cancel. But if you do, you've got yourself options by locking in a really good price. And again, that code is there if you like to pull out your phone and scan that QR code. Cousin Jared, parting words for our free show viewers for the last time in 2023.
I really like, well, thank you for watching us in
Yes,
2023. We definitely appreciate it. You allowing us to spend as much time as we do doing this. The other thing I would say is I like the way that you phrased it. This is like setting the table. This is just a rehearsal for all the college basketball Saturdays. So yeah, everybody get prepared, get your processes and procedures in place, run your test checks, because a week from now it's going to be the real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. And like I said, thank you, viewer, for watching us this year. We will be back on Monday night and continuing into the new year with all the college basketball content that you've come to know and love from us. Otherwise, though, hopefully we see you on the other side of the music for the extended cut and the explanations to why we like these specific picks over the other 19 A grade picks here in 60 seconds.